Imagine going to sleep in one era of technology and waking up in an entirely new one. Well, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking a massive convergence, specifically July 17th, 2026. This was a single day that triggered a massive, intersecting shift in global AI power and economics. We're going to cover a lot of ground in about 4 minutes, so let's dive right in.
We're moving rapidly through 4 explosive news events that hit on this exact date. Collectively, they prove the AI industry has officially hit a critical tipping point. We're looking at a day where the balance of software, hardware, and global governance literally all collided at once. You know, if you're building, investing, or honestly just existing in the tech space today, understanding what went down on this date is basically a survival requirement.
Okay, let's start with the software shockwave that rattled the markets overnight. Moonshot AI quietly dropped Kimi K3. There was no flashy keynote, no giant press conference, nothing. Just a quiet website update in the middle of the night that sent an absolute shockwave through the entire global tech sector.
2.8 trillion. I mean, just wrap your head around that scale for a second. With 2.8 trillion total parameters, Kimi K3 is the largest open-weight AI model ever released by any lab anywhere. To put that into perspective, parameters are essentially the brain cells of an AI. Dropping an open model with 2.8 trillion of them completely dwarfs previous Chinese open models, which kind of capped out at around 1.6 trillion. It's a massive leap.
And this perfectly highlights the disruption we're seeing. On one side of the ring, you have Western closed models charging premium pricing for closed APIs. But on the other side, you've got Kimi K3 offering open weights, a price of just $3 per million input tokens, and, this is the kicker, the ability for enterprises to self-host by July 27th. Actually, early independent benchmarks place it right alongside GPT 5.5 and Claude Opus 4.8. This fundamentally rewrites enterprise economics. Because it's not just about the price tag, right? It's about control. Enterprises no longer have to ship off their sensitive data to closed Western APIs. They can run near-frontier intelligence on their own hardware for pennies on the dollar.
Technology writer Aaron Rose actually hit the nail on the head here, capturing the sheer existential dread of Western tech giants. He wrote, "It is a download that any enterprise can use without paying Anthropic, OpenAI, or Google a dollar." That right there? That reality fueled a global market panic and a massive semiconductor sell-off, basically pricing in the immediate fear that highly capable AI is rapidly becoming completely open and dirt cheap.
But the shockwaves of July 17th definitely didn't stop at the software layer. While Wall Street was freaking out over Kimi, Chinese President Xi Jinping took the stage at the World Artificial Intelligence Conference in Shanghai to actively recruit developing nations into a brand new paradigm.
The result of that? 29 nations formally signed the World Artificial Intelligence Cooperation Organization, or WACO, into existence. Just look at the founding lineup: China, Russia, Brazil, Indonesia, Pakistan. When you add up those populations, this new bloc represents literally billions of people across the global south. This is definitely not some fringe group. It's a massive demographic powerhouse acting with singular intent.
By establishing an independent intergovernmental body headquartered in Shanghai with the UN Secretary General actually sitting in attendance at the signing, these nations presented a direct, legitimate alternative to the emerging US and UK-led AI governance frameworks. Frameworks which, let's remember, currently rely on voluntary standards. So why does this matter to us? Well, because whoever sets the rules for AI essentially sets the rules for the future global economy. And for the very first time, the voluntary frameworks of the US and UK have a highly organized, heavily populated geopolitical rival.
Okay, so software economics are totally fracturing, and global governance is splitting right down the middle. But to figure out who's actually winning right now, we have to dig beneath the software, down to the physical bedrock, and look at the stark contrast between hardware dominance and organizational execution.
On the exact same day software stocks tanked over Kimi K3, chip manufacturer TSMC reported its Q2 results. And the numbers are absolutely staggering: $40.2 billion in revenue. Net income up over 77% to nearly $22 billion. To put that into perspective, that is like generating the entire GDP of a small country in just 90 days. It was their 5th consecutive record-breaking quarter, and they aggressively doubled down, confidently committing an extra $100 billion to their Arizona expansion.
The bedrock remains unshaken. This clearly shows us that while open-weight models might redistribute software profits and trigger absolute panic among app developers, the massive infrastructure build-out and the sheer insatiable demand for high-performance compute remains absolute. The AI gold rush is chaotic, for sure, but the folks selling the shovels, yeah, they're sleeping soundly.
Now you gotta contrast TSMC's flawless execution with Google's situation. On the exact same day that Kimi open-sourced the future, Google missed its 4th consecutive internal target for Gemini 3.5 Pro. We're seeing a broken chain of missed deadlines here. This latest delay happened on July 17th, right amid a string of high-profile talent departures that have very clearly thrown off their rhythm.
Look, Google's technical advantages, like its massive 2.1 million token context window, are very, very real. A context window of that size is a crazy technical feat. It essentially means the AI can read and retain thousands of pages of a textbook in one single go. But here is the harsh reality of the market. An available model with a good enough memory is always going to beat a perfect model that, well, doesn't actually exist yet. Every single week, Google delays disruptive open alternatives like Kimi K3, which launched with a 1 million token context window, are actively closing that competitive gap for enterprise users.
So what does this all mean? Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Compute remains king, at least for now. But as the events of July 17th proved beyond a shadow of a doubt, the real battle is just getting started. The hardware foundation is stronger than ever, but as open models get insanely cheap and global governance splits in two, who is going to capture the ultimate value above the silicon? Is it going to be the established tech giants or the open source rebels? I'll leave you to chew on that. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer today. Take these questions back to your own teams and keep questioning the frontier.